Welcome back to Fictional History 101. I'm your fictional professor, Aaron Johnson. We're continuing our classes on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and today we'll be finishing the Battle Tendency arc. Our last class focused on the Pillarmen, a powerful and ancient race of humans who had created the stone masks. In particular, we talked about the leader of the surviving Pillarmen, Kars, as well as his quest to conquer the effects of the sun. For now, though, let's turn our attention to the groups competing to get the Redstone of Aya, the Pillarmen, the German army, and the Hamon users Joseph Joestar and Caesar Zeppeli. For Joseph, there's a particular note of urgency to his battle with the Pillarmen, as he had been poisoned by not only Wamu but AC/DC, and only had 33 days to defeat both of them before the poison would kill him. Let's turn back to 1939, back to Joseph and Caesar after managing to escape from the Pillarmen. While Caesar had gained more respect for Joseph for not abandoning them, and even putting his own life at risk to save Caesar and Speedwagon, he realized he would not be able to provide the training needed for Joseph's Hamon. The three headed to Venice, planning to train under the most powerful Hamon user at the time, Lisa. While Speedwagon was aware of Lisa's true identity as Joseph's mother, Caesar and Joseph were not. Caesar and Joseph were both placed into a grueling training regimen that sought to dramatically improve their technique and control of Hamon. However, during their training, AC/DC had tracked the red stone to Lisa. AC/DC was not the only one to find the stone, as the German army had spies in the area monitoring Lisa and waiting for their own chance to take the stone. Kars had gone ahead to Switzerland to wait for AC/DC and Wamu to finish their own searches for the stone. Kars had transformed an abandoned hotel into a defensible lair. Windows had been boarded to prevent sunlight from coming into the hotel, and a group of 100 vampires had been created to guard against anyone daring to come into the hotel. While Joseph and Caesar trained, AC/DC attacked, killing one of the trainers and managing to send the stone away. Joseph believed that he was able to defeat AC/DC, but the Pillarmen's strange biology allowed his brain to detach from the rest of his body and continue his efforts to defeat the Hamon users. AC/DC took Lisa's assistant Susie Q hostage. However, Joseph and Caesar combined their Hamon to free Susie and inflict lethal amounts of Hamon to AC/DC. After his death, Susie Q revealed the stone was on a train to St. Moritz in Switzerland. Joseph, Lisa, Caesar, and the remaining Hamon teacher, Messina, set out to intercept the stone before it could reach Kars and Wamu. However, the stone would not reach Kars, as the German spies relayed the destination of the stone. Stroheim himself went to intercept it, taking it from the train that it had been placed on. When Kars realized the Germans had the stone, he attacked. While he was able to kill several German soldiers, he did not expect Stroheim or his impressive mechanical limbs. These would allow Stroheim to deflect some of Kars' attacks, as well as counterattack with a machine gun that had been placed in his chest. Still, Kars was able to defeat Stroheim and nearly escape with the stone. It was only with Joseph's intervention and trickery that they were able to recover the red stone. Kars retreated to the hotel he'd converted and waited for the Hamon users to come to him. Not long after, Joseph and Caesar tracked Kars back to his lair. While Caesar wanted to attack immediately, Joseph felt this was foolhardy, as the hotel would be prepared for any form of attack. However, Caesar wanted to avenge his father and grandfather and pressed ahead without the others. Messina would go and try to stop him, however the two would be attacked by Wamu just outside the hotel. Wamu would badly injure Messina and drag him into the hotel hoping to lure Caesar inside where it was dark. Caesar would take the bait and fight Wamu in the hotel lobby. While Caesar's Hamon had improved greatly, nearly allowing him to defeat the Pillarmen, Wamu was able to fatally wound Caesar. Before he died, Caesar managed to take the ring containing the antidote from Wamu and used his own blood and Hamon to create a protective bubble around it. From their battle, Wamu had come to respect the younger man and left the bubble with the antidote behind. Caesar would die as the roof of the lobby collapsed on him. Shortly after, Lisa and Joseph would arrive, finding Caesar's body. Joseph took Caesar's scarf, as well as the antidote ring, promising himself that he wouldn't take the antidote until he'd avenged Caesar. The two pressed on into the hotel, fighting off vampires that had been left to guard the way in. Lisa was able to effortlessly pass through them, making her way into Car's inner sanctum. While Cars wished to kill Lisa and Joseph to recover the stone immediately, Wamu wished to duel Joseph to avenge AC/DC, and make good on his promise to fight Joseph before the poisoned ring could kill him. Knowing that they could not defeat the two pillarmen, as well as the vampire guards, Lisa told them that she not only did not have the stone, but that it would be destroyed by a timed explosive if they did not return in time to retrieve it. Instead of fighting all the vampires, Lisa suggested having Joseph and Wamu fight, as well as having a duel between herself and Cars. Whoever was left standing would get the stone. Cars agreed to this, and they began preparing for their respective duels. Lisa stayed behind so that Joseph couldn't abandon her as he retrieved the stone. Joseph and Wamu's duel took the form of a chariot race. The two would race around a ring using weapons available to them or any other means at their disposal. Joseph would find Wamu a powerful opponent, but was able to overcome him in the end, leaving Wamu a severed head with a fatal amount of Hamon in his body. As Wamu died, suffering incredible pain from the Hamon spreading through him, Joseph cut his hand, pouring blood into the Wamu's wounds to ease his pain. Joseph wanted to repay Wamu for the kindness he'd shown in honoring Caesar's dying wish and leaving the Hamon bubble alone. Unhappy with the result of the duel, several vampires rushed Joseph, planning to kill him for defeating Wamu. Enraged that the vampires would take a dishonorable act such as this, Wamu used the last of his strength to kill the attacking vampires. As he died, he asked Joseph to drink the antidote so that he could die with no regrets. Almost immediately after, Cars and Lisa began their duel. While it seemed that Lisa had an advantage over Cars, this was part of a ruse the Pillarmen had engineered, using a body double to get Lisa to drop her guard so he could attack. Cars nearly killed the off-balance Lisa before sending the vampires under his control after Joseph. While Joseph was able to use his Hamon to fight many of them off, their numbers were too great, and he began to weaken. It was then that Stroheim arrived with a contingent of German soldiers. They had been outfitted with UV light packs by the Speedwagon Foundation, and quickly began to turn back the vampires. Freed from the throngs of vampires attacking him, Joseph rushed to help the endangered Lisa. Using his Hamon and trickery, Joseph believed that he was able to defeat Cars. However, Cars had the stone mask, and had taken the red stone from Lisa. When Stroheim's men moved in to use their UV lights on Cars, he put the mask on. Having combined the red stone with the stone mask, he was able to channel the power of the UV lights into the stone mask, granting him immeasurable power. He now had total mastery over his body, able to change his skin to be hard as bone, grow wings, or even completely mimic another animal. As a demonstration of his power, he turned one of his hands into a vampiric squirrel, killing several soldiers with it. When the sun rose, the soldiers and surviving Hamon users felt relief, believing that the light of the sun would destroy Cars. However, while the surviving vampires would quickly turn to dust, the power of the mask had made Cars immune to this as well. Now with little that could harm him, Cars set his sights on finishing the German soldiers, as well as the remaining Hamon users. Joseph took the red stone, and fled using one of the German planes Stroheim had brought, hoping to draw Cars away from the others. Stroheim himself would use his mechanical legs to jump onto the plane before Joseph fled. With the ability to change his body however he desired, Cars changed his arms into massive bird wings and took to the air to follow Joseph. Joseph planned to lure Cars to the volcano at Isola di Vogano. While he was able to get close to the volcano, Cars damaged the plane with a barrage of piranhas that he'd made from parts of his body. However, with Stroheim's help, Joseph was able to lure Cars into the path of the plane and pin him to the nose before forcing him into the lava of the volcano. Stroheim and Joseph leapt from the plane, with Stroheim catching Joseph and using his mechanical legs to absorb the impact of the fall. While the two saw Kars slip beneath the surface of the lava, he was not dead yet. Shielding himself with a layer of air and hardened rock, Kars survived the lava, emerging to sever Joseph's arm. With his strength waning, Joseph tried to use the last of his Hamon against Kars, but found that the mask had given him power over that as well. Nearly dead, Joseph held on to the red stone. Kars moved to finish Joseph, planning to use his newly discovered Hamon to ironically finish the wounded Joestar. However, when Kars struck, Joseph put the red stone in the way. It amplified the Hamon and fired a concentrated beam into the volcano, causing it to violently erupt. Joseph and Kars were flung high into the air on a slab of hardened rock. As Kars turned to flee, Joseph's severed arm struck Kars in the throat, distracting him from the spray of volcanic rock that hit him shortly afterwards. The combined force of all this ejected volcanic material was enough to send Kars upwards at escape velocity, shooting him away from Earth. Although Kars had total mastery over his body, he found there was little he could do in the freezing cold of space. He attempted a number of shapes and forms to allow him to come back to Earth, but was unable to. Instead, he drifted deeper into space, fated to float forever as an unthinking blend of mineral and animal. The slab of rock Joseph had been propelled upwards on shielded him as he fell back to the earth, and he landed safely in the sea by the volcano. While he would be rescued by a passing fishing vessel, Stroheim was unable to find him and assumed he was dead. Joseph was legally declared dead on February 28, 1939, while he was en route to Rome to recover under the care of Susie Q. The two would marry sometime in the months afterwards. While Joseph's friends and family prepared for his funeral, Stroheim would reconnect with Joseph shortly afterwards. He would replace Joseph's severed hand and forearm with some of the same German prosthetics that he had. However, Joseph's other friends and family would not hear the news until April, at his funeral. Returning home, Joseph went to the funeral hoping to find his grandmother, not realizing he had arrived for his own funeral. With the threat of the Pillarmen ended, Joseph decided to settle down, and the others who had fought against Kars and his followers went their separate ways. Joseph was settled down with Susie, giving birth to his first child, Holly, in April of 1942. Stroheim would go on to fight at the Battle of Stalingrad, where he would be killed in 1943. Robert E.O. Speedwagon continued working with the Speedwagon Foundation until his death in 1952. There were many who died facing the Pillarmen, German soldiers, members of the Speedwagon Foundation, and Hamon users, just to name a few. But in the end, they faced down the Pillarmen and won. While the world wouldn't be shaken by the events that had transpired between the Pillarmen and their enemies, there was a real threat that they would succeed in their mission and be unstoppable by any force on Earth. The world would not see a danger like the Pillarmen again until the mid-1980s, but that's for another class. I think that's all we have time for today. I'd like to thank you all for joining us in class today. That will cover JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Battle Tendency. Next class, I'm not entirely sure what we'll be covering. We may take a break from JoJo and go back to Mobile Suit Gundam, or possibly into a different subject entirely. Either way, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us at fictionalhistory101@gmail.com, or send a tweet to fichist101. Thank you again for joining us for class, and please don't forget to study. The intro and outro music for this class is Labyrinth by Enrico Altavia, courtesy of freesoundtrackmusic.com.